Jen from APN News, and I will be talking to you about India and the four macroeconomic objectives. They are low and stable rate of inflation, low unemployment, equity in distribution of income, and economic growth. India's unemployment rate is 8.8%. We can say that India is currently experiencing cyclical unemployment due to a negative supply shock. This could possibly mean that the economy has seen a spike in energy prices. Therefore, firms would have to reduce unemployment. The economy is in a recession and is experiencing high inflation. The consequences that India's society would face is an increase in poverty and crime. The economy would have a lower level of aggregate demand, underutilization of resources, and downward pressure on wages for employed people, meaning that there will be lower wages. India has a high inflation rate of 9.6%. Because this is above 5%, we can deduce that cost-push inflation occurs. This is when there is an increase in the average price level resulting from a decrease in aggregate supply, from higher wages and raw material prices, and accompanied by a decrease in real output and increase in unemployment. High inflation rates means that households and firms are in a rush to spend their money before its value declines due to the higher prices. This causes aggregate demand to rise rapidly, therefore reducing real incomes, since prices increase due to the increase in scarcity of goods and services, and causes the economy to become unstable. Cost-push inflation occurs as a result of a negative supply shock, arising from a sudden, often unanticipated, increase in cost of production for the nation's producers. It could be the result of any of the following: increase in wage rate, increase in resource costs, increase in energy or transportation costs, increased regulation by the government, increased business taxes, reduction in the exchange rate. As a result of high inflation, households would have lower real incomes, savers would have lower real interest rates, there will be higher nominal interest rates for borrowers, and reduced international competitiveness. As shown in the negative supply shock graph, aggregate supply has shifted to the left, therefore increasing the average price level, and firms are producing at a level below the natural rate of unemployment. As a result of the inward shift of the aggregate supply curve, the Phillips curves have shifted out to the right where both unemployment and inflation is high, meaning that stagflation occurs. This means that India doesn't follow the usual trend of the Phillips curve, which is when unemployment rates are high and inflation rates are low, or vice versa. India's economy is growing at a rate of 3.2%. This could be the result of India's physical capital, which is the quantity and quality of technology and infrastructure in the nation, including computer and communication technologies, high-speed internet access, efficient transportation networks, sanitation infrastructure, and so on, or human capital and productivity, which refers to the quality of the labor workforce in the nation. If the quality of education and training is high, there will be an increase in productivity due to greater skills among workers. With the combination of both elements, more output can be produced per worker, therefore increasing the average income of households in a nation. Economic growth obviously leads to higher incomes and greater output, both which benefit the households and firms in a nation. However, there are several undesirable consequences that may arise from the growth in output of a nation over time. These include externalities, inflation, structural unemployment, composition of output, and unequal distribution of income. India's Gini index is 33.6, which is closer to 0 than 100. India's Gini index is 33.6. This value is quite low since the value is closer to 0 than 100. From the Lorenz curve, we can see that the bottom 20% of India's population receives only about 10% of the income, while the top 20% of the population receives almost 50% of the income. In comparison to China, India is the country in which income is distributed more evenly, because the Lorenz curve is closer to the line of equality. In conclusion, if India wants to sustain long-term economic growth, they would have to be careful about their high unemployment and inflation rates.